So in Japan, a new controversial law was just enacted, which basically bans conspiracies to commit terrorism, allowing police to arrest people who simply talk about things that are anti-government. When you talk about something, it's a far cry from acting on something, isn't it? I mean, what is a conspiracy exactly? When people get together and plan something, when they actually sit down and make a date for something to happen, when they gather together the materials, when they have people who agreed upon certain actions, and they have a set time for doing it, before it happens, at any point leading up to it, one of them could pull out and not do the thing that they talked about doing. Is that a crime, to talk about doing something and then not do it? You see, to me, a crime only occurs when it actually occurs. We've all had thoughts about doing things that we probably shouldn't do. At any point that we decide not to do it, we've made the right choice. This law takes away that option for people not to act on their impulses. It's being called another excuse, basically, to surveil the citizens of Japan, to remilitarize the country, to make it so that people are under this constant threat of action by the government to even talk about taking any actions back. Well, isn't that what the American dream was all about in terms of the American Revolution? To not be under the thumb of some ruler far away. Now, in Japan, obviously, the ruler's right there. Is there a big difference in what's going on in Japan with this counterterrorism law and what's going on here in the United States? I don't think there is. And I think it's something that we all, no matter where we live, in Japan or the United States or Germany or Saudi Arabia, we need to think about what we're going to do when people start taking actions against us. I'll tell you what, I think it's coming. And I think that the best thing that we can possibly do is thinking about trying to get away, trying to get out of the organized state. I don't know how that's going to happen. I want it to happen without violence. I want it to happen without people killing people. The problem is now they're cracking down on people for just talking about wanting to resist. If you go out and you take part in a protest, are you committing an act of terrorism? If you tell your friends, we ought to stand up against this law, are you guilty of a conspiracy? In Japan, you would be. Now in the United States as well. I've heard of a number of people who have been arrested for simply talking about doing something, and they've called it a conspiracy, and they've been convicted and sent to jail for committing a crime that hasn't been committed yet. That's the whole point, is they're trying to stop the crimes before they have been committed. That reminds me an awful lot of The Minority Report. Do you remember that movie, Tom Cruise? The whole stopping crime, the future crime unit. This is where we're at, and this is something that everyday people need to start thinking about in terms of, are you safe to say what's on your mind? Probably not. What does that mean? That means we're living in a 1984 kind of society where we're under constant surveillance and where you can't speak your mind to people around you for fear that they might turn you in. And you'll end up going to jail simply for saying that you disagree with what those who call themselves your rulers tell you. If you have a reaction, send me an email, steve@radiofreespeech.com, and if it's a good one, I'll give you a call and we'll set up a podcast together. How's that sound? radiofreespeech.com.